Right, good evening, thank you all for your time. I'm going to talk really quickly, so excuse me for that. I'm Andy Marriott, I'm the MD and founder of Silver Sun Pictures, which is a film and television production company that was born in Canberra about 21 years ago. Tonight I'm speaking as the CEO of the Film Distillery, which was established earlier this year as a partnership with a number of commercial entities in Canberra. When you think of Canberra, the first thing that doesn't come to mind is movies, and not less the ones that you won't want to take your mum and dad to see. But you might be a bit surprised at some of the large-scale productions that have been through Canberra the last couple of years. We've had 2 seasons of The Code from the ABC, 6 episodes of The Secret City from Foxtel, and a number of feature films that you may or may not have come across. Films and TV, drama films and TV, they require significant infrastructure and a very skilled workforce, but without continuing work, Canberra can't sustain much of its own industry, so imports most of the equipment and people required for these larger scale productions. For the past 5 years, I've been working with some local government, with some corporate partners, to develop a bit of a model that generates sustainable commercial projects that can be made in Canberra. Now, we're not being too ambitious, we're working within our means, films with budgets of about $1.5 million, relying on extremely well-developed stories rather than stars and expensive effects. Big budget Hollywood films are getting out of control. If you take The Martian, had a budget of $108 million, whereas India actually flew a real rocket to the real Mars for less than. But we can learn from Hollywood studios when it comes to choosing and developing the films we're going to make. On balance, studio films make money, and they do that because studio films make films that people actually want to go and see. Due to a complex, long-standing set of circumstances surrounding how Australian films are financed, Australian-produced films are often not commercially focused and they don't return any investment made into them. The Film Distillery is an entirely different proposition. What we've done is partnered with international sales agents who bring the voice of the market to every stage of identification and development. This means we create films that the market actually wants to buy. And it seems so obvious, but surprisingly, this is a completely novel and innovative approach to independent filmmaking. So look, making a small film is a labour of love. It takes like 12 months full-time for the key roles involved. But sustainable pipeline of production means about 4 films a year to keep the number of people we need going. And it's something that the Film Distillery can't do on its own. And when it comes to ideas, and really, really good ideas, we don't want to limit it to this small group of people. We want to cast the net as wide as possible. So, to this end, the Film Distillery doesn't develop and produce its own films. It partners with filmmakers and writers from all over Australia and now New Zealand. Now, it may surprise, even shock you to hear that brilliant, creative, independent filmmakers often do not make the best business practitioners. It's maybe a left side, right side thing with the brain, but we've seen it time and time again that those with the strongest drive to rally the troops and really get their film made have a proportionally inverse ability to account for expenditure and secure the necessary insurance. And that's where the Film Distillery steps in. We bring the bore to this highly creative and exciting industry. What we actually do is we bring governance, commercial practice, investment, oversight and risk management to the table, and we free the creatives to do what they actually do the best, which is make great films. I'm happy to talk you through this process we use, but considering the time we've got, let's talk about the results so far. Last year, we had 42 filmmakers attend a program where they developed ideas that could work in this model. Out of that, 9 were selected for further development. That's resulted in 1 film now in pre-production, 2 more in commercialisation, and 3 more being actively developed. And Screen ACT is currently running the 2016 development program, this time with 50 filmmakers from as far away as Western Australia and New Zealand, and we're only a few days away from having to choose the best of another 50 potential films. Our films use a financing model that requires about $400,000 of private equity investment to be fully funded. This buys you about 3 seconds of a Marvel film. That's all we need to get an entire film up and running. Our first film, Contained, it's raised its $400,000 and it's scheduled to start production next February. Our second film has almost closed finance, it's slated to start in April. And our third film we're hoping to do in the middle of the year if we can get the equity required. We do need continuing investment. To build this industry we envisage for Canberra, it needs to be ongoing and sustained. It's the only way to keep people and the equipment here. We've got to reach a point where 4 films are funded and produced each year, at which point the return starts to become self-financing from the returns on the films. It's groundbreaking, it's innovative, it's not happening anywhere else in Australia, it's sexy, it's fun, it's film, it's the good stuff. And if you'd like to be a part of Hollywood in Canberra in a small or a big way, come and talk to me afterwards or see me sometime in the near future. Thank you very much.